It's so small and I love it. And so I'm going to show you guys how I changed my site out with my new insulin pump. So if you guys joined me a couple weeks ago, you saw the unboxing of my Twiist insulin pump. Can I help you? Sorry, cats. So now I have officially started it, which I'm super excited about. So today I'm going to take you guys through a site change and just how I tend to wear my insulin pump. I'm not the one to be shy about people seeing it. In fact, I buy fun stickers for these. This also did come with a CGM, which is super tiny. So that is talking to my insulin pump as well and helping to maintain my blood sugars a whole lot better, which I love. The algorithm on this is so much better than the last pump that I was on. And it's also a whole lot smaller. So the injection site, which I'll show you guys, is a whole lot smaller on this pump. And also, like I said, the CGM is a lot tinier too. I almost lose it, like I forget it's there. So this is it right here. This is the Libre 3 Plus. And the really nice thing about this pump that I found is that everything is just controlled through one app in my phone. With the last pod that I had two different apps, one for the CGM and one for the actual pod. And for a while with my Omnipod, I was having to carry around two phones, which was super annoying because they hadn't come out with an app for the Apple iPhone yet. So now they finally had one and I got to just go around with my iPhone, which made such a huge difference in my life and made things so much easier for me. But now I don't even have to have a separate CGM app in my phone. So, and CGM stands for continuous glucose monitor. So I don't have to do the finger pokes anymore. This just reads off of the data from my Libre here so that it can make adjustments to my blood sugars. So I'll show you guys the app here. It shows me my blood sugars and I can control a lot of things from here. It also has down here different options. I can put in my foods along with the amount of carbs. Carbs are what determines how much insulin that I take, also depending on what my blood sugar actually is. I can also enter in the types of food that I eat. So as we all know, some food absorbs differently. So like foods that are high in fat or protein take longer to absorb than like sugars and carbohydrates. So this will also take into account how long the food will stay in my system. And then this right here just allows me to time when I'm going to be eating and have my blood sugar in a preset range. And I think my range is 80 to 90. So I can put in there when I'll be eating and it will work to get my blood sugar to that range before. This one right here is just a simple bolus option. I can just enter in my carbs and it'll give me the amount of insulin that I can take. This one is actually a workout mode, which helps a whole lot. A challenge with a lot of diabetics is that we tend to drop low when we're working out, and I need to lock down and get back into working out. This helps to have some security, or a buffer rather, and this will help my blood sugar stay in a range of 150 to 180, which just is a really safe range, especially if I'm doing cardio or anything like that. And then just this last one is a typical gear for any kind of settings in here. So I have all my basal rates, which is the continuous insulin that I take all day, in here, and what I prefer my blood sugar range to be and all that kind of stuff. And so this also gives me 6 hours of data in the future. So right now this is showing me where my blood sugar is going to be in the future based off of how much active insulin I have and how much food is also still active in my body. So the technology that's come along with this is just so much better. It's a little weird for me to be wearing a tubed insulin pump again. It is annoying, but I'm learning slowly but surely how to style it basically how to wear it with my outfit. So sometimes I will wear it in my bra, and other times I'll just clip it to my pocket. Like I said, I'm not really one to be upset of people seeing my pumps. So a lot of times it's just like this on my pocket here. I do have to be careful at work though, because since I wear a lead skirt, it does tend to rub the insulin pump into my skin, and so that's something that I'm trying to figure out. And so I may just have to wear my pump in my bra during work days just to keep that from happening. But yeah, I'm super excited about it. And so if anyone is a type 1 diabetic that has joined my channel or is thinking about joining my channel, I do like to talk about how my diabetes influences me day to day and how I still just stay feeling beautiful and aesthetic, that I can still live a whimsical lifestyle, so to speak, even with contraptions attached to me. One of the things that I do consistently is I buy stickers for my devices, and I've got a few that are coming in. There's some that are going to be here tomorrow, and I'm super excited about it. And it just helps me feel better about these devices, the fact that I can personalize them and just make them something that still feels beautiful to wear to me. And that just really helps. The diabetes isn't going anywhere anytime soon, so I really think it makes a difference to still manage to feel normal and just still beautiful wearing this kind of stuff. So I'm going to show you guys how all of this gets set up, and we're going to do a site change. So I have here, you can see the app, and in here is the actual spot where the insulin is going to go into, along with the connection for the tubing. I also have just a regular old alcohol wipe to clean my skin, and then this is just where the insulin is going to get drawn up into. This is what's going to actually put the cannula into my body, and it's got the rest of the tubing attached in here. They are getting ready to come out with shorter tubing, and some companies sold stickers that allows you to wear this on your body. And once the shorter tubing comes out, I'll definitely be doing it that way, because I just really like the tubeless option, or at least as tubeless as I can get. Okay, so we're gonna get started here with the pump change. So when I say cannula, this is the little tiny piece that stays in my skin, and that's where the insulin gets delivered so that my skin can just basically absorb it. So here are all the supplies that I'm going to need. I do have my freshly charged battery here, and I've also got my bottle of insulin. And so we're just going to go ahead and get started with the site change. So it's going to stop my insulin, and then I have already disconnected and taken out the old site. We're just going to go to next, and it's telling me now to disconnect the two pieces. So the actual pump part is this piece right here, and it comes apart from the insulin holder. So this is essentially where all my insulin hangs out, and then this is the part that delivers it all. So I'm going to change the battery, and they'll run for a while on the battery that is in there, but every time you do a site change, which is roughly about every 3 days, it's a good idea to just go ahead and change the battery so that you're not at risk of running out. I am also one to always carry extra supplies with me, so I'll carry an extra one of these. I always have a bottle of insulin with me, spare battery, and cannula insertions. So we are going to go ahead and take this and fill it up. And where you fill it up at is just this teeny tiny little spot right here. So we will go ahead, and I fill it up all the way just because sometimes I don't know what my weeks are gonna look like, especially with perimenopause and hormones and that kind of thing. It can be so unpredictable with my blood sugars sometimes. I am one to pull my insulin back out of the pumps so that I can use it again. I've personally never had a problem with that. I know it's not exactly recommended, but I'd rather save money on my insulin and my cassettes and everything else versus having to pay more and to get more refills on things. So it takes about 20 units, they said, to prime all the tubing. So I'm putting in about 250 units, and we're just going to go in here and fill it up. Now this can hold up to 300, but I've never gone through that much insulin. So now my little cassette here is full, and then it says to reattach it to here. You have to line them up properly here. I rotate the pump clockwise. Now, it's doing its little self-test to make sure that everything is good, and it wants me to scan my little cassette, so we're gonna do that. Just a quick little barcode, and let's see, cassette, fill volume. Yep. Ooh, cat just took off running. So now we have, let's see. Sorry, this is actually the first time that I'm changing this. So we are going to do 250, which I already put in here. And then we've already filled this up. And actually it looks like you're only supposed to fill this up after you put them together, but hopefully this is fine. It says don't insert the infusion set into the body yet. So I think I'm missing a piece, so let me go and find it and I'll be right back. Okay, this is the other thing I don't really like about this, is the fact that there are just so many pieces to it, whereas with the Omnipod I just had the pod, and that was literally it. Everything else was included in there. So hopefully they'll come out with a way to have less packaging, which would be really nice. Here's the tubing that I'm going to be attaching, and the pump is now ready to go ahead and prime it. And so it's just going to go about and do its thing. So now I have attached it to the pump, and we're just going to hit next, and let's see it, and then we're just going to start the prime. And it's just going to start pushing the insulin through into the tubing and getting it all primed, and then I will put it on my body. But I am going to show you guys the differences. So I love my bag here, but I am going to show you guys the differences in the pump sizes. So this was the Omnipod that I had on, and I'll show you guys a picture here of what it looked like, and then also the Dexcom was a lot bigger as well. So it is nice just to have these tiny little devices now, which has been a huge quality of life improvement for me. This is the inserter for my CGM, but this only needs to be changed every 15 days. So I only need to swap them out twice a month. My eventual goal is to be able to have the implantable one put in, and I'm really hoping that will be before the end of the year. So my doctor and I are working on that, and that only has to be changed once a year. So super duper excited. Okay, so we are finished priming. I saw insulin coming out of that part. And the other interesting thing that you have to do with this, I was used to pieces just sliding in, but this one comes in from the top. So you have to push them and pull them apart. And then this will sit on top of the site, and then you just push them back in together. So here is the actual little site that I'm going to be putting on my skin. And the rep told me to warm up the sticker to start with, so to just sit here for a minute and like tap on it. It's another kind of annoying part, but he did say that they are working on new infusion sets that you won't have to be this specific about putting on. Because the other thing is that when I actually do put this on my body, I have to hold it there for another 20 seconds or so that it'll actually warm up to my body and stick. And that was probably one of the hardest things because I went through 2 sites trying to figure that out. So I kind of like to decide ahead of time where I'm going to be putting this. And so for this time, I think I'm going to put it in my stomach. I've actually not used my stomach for an insulin pump site in a very, very long time, not since I started the pod, because I just found it too large for me to have on my stomach. And I tend to wear like a lot of high-waisted stuff. So I typically just use my legs and my arms for my Omnipod, but with this, it's going to give me the option back to be able to use my stomach for pump site changes. The other thing that's been really weird is having to learn how to sleep with all of this again. I'm not a stranger to tubed insulin, but it is just kind of annoying because I forget it's there sometimes and I don't keep it looped to my belt when I sleep. So sometimes I'm getting up and then suddenly this is just dangling all over the place. There was actually one time I went skydiving and I had a different tubed pump. And I'll see if I can't show that to you guys here. But you can actually see in the picture where my pump had come out of my pocket and it was just kind of flapping around, which is just terrible. Like if I had lost it, it would have been awful. But thankfully, everything stayed on. It was just sort of dangling from my leggings before we landed. But it stayed where it was supposed to, thankfully. So anyway, let's go ahead and get a site change done. Okay, so everything's all warmed up. And I am just going to get my stomach exposed here just a little bit. So thankfully there is enough padding here to be able to put this in. So we're just going to stick this on right here, and then we're just going to push it in and it's going to release the needle to be able to put the cannula underneath of my skin. So we're gonna go 1, 2, and 3. And the little click went off, and so we're just going to sit here for 20 seconds while the adhesive warms up to my skin, which again I just find as a super annoying part of this, but just to be able to have the smaller sites and everything, it's pretty cool. So a few more seconds and then we will go ahead and take this off and just connect the rest of the tubing. It's going to want to prime the cannula before it'll actually start all of the insulin delivery system again. So I think it's been about 20 seconds and maybe not. No. Okay, so I'm all ready to put this in my stomach and we're just going to untwist it here and you can see everything. So I'm gonna warm all that up. The last one that I put in didn't stick for whatever reason, so I need to call the company. They'll ship me replacements for it, thankfully, but it's still just annoying having to go through that whole process. I don't know why these have such a hard time sometimes, because that was the issue I had in my training, was actually getting this to stick and separate from this whole part. So try the other side of my stomach this time. So 1, 2, and 3. I can't even feel it go in, which is really, really nice. Gosh, when I was a kid, the needles were like this long and I hated so much having to do site changes. It just completely freaked me out. I would try to leave the infusion sets in for as long as possible because, oh my gosh, they were painful. It was so hard to deal with. And even on the Omnipod, I had a little bit of, not good feelings about it, just simply because it didn't give me the control of putting the actual site in myself. It automatically did it. So sometimes it would be way earlier than I expected it to be, and other times it would be later. And sometimes it would just catch me by surprise. And I just really, really did not like that part of having to deal with the Omnipod. Like I said, at least it didn't have a gajillion packages and things like that needed to be with it, but there were some downsides to it for sure. And I'll be glad when they have the better infusion sets out, the shorter infusion sets, and definitely the better sites, the cannula sites that go into your body. So I'm just hoping that this time everything's stuck. These things just have such a hard time actually separating. So I think it's stuck, but you can see it right there. It tried to peel away from my skin a bit, but I really hope that the new infusion sets won't do that, because it just drives me crazy. I never had an Omnipod fail on me, so of course switching over to this, I get a little afraid that it's going to, but hopefully this actually stuck in place this time. So we're just going to do the whole slide apart. I'm going to put it on. I do have an option whichever way I decide to put this onto. So I'm going to put it off to the side since I'll be wearing this in my pocket. And then we just go ahead and start our basal. And the little pump talks to me. Oh, I did forget to fill my cannula, but thankfully this does give me the option to go back and do a cannula fill. Oh, well, I guess it just went on ahead and did it. So you can see we're all set and ready to go for another 3 days. And hopefully the site did stick and that we're good. I do really appreciate all of you joining me for this. Certainly if you have any questions, or if you're type 1 that wants to learn more about this, especially with how to style it and feel comfortable wearing these kinds of things, go ahead and reach out to me. I'm always available and I'm happy to answer any kind of questions, whether it's questions about diabetes or how to live with it or anything like that, or even just what it's about. And so I really appreciate all of you guys being here, and I'll see you next week.